10 years ago, I lived in a small town near the mountains. I was 19. I had never left home before. I still believed that people were always good if you gave them love. I didn't know how wrong I was. There was a boy in our town. His name was Mason. He was 5 years older than me, 24. Mason worked at the local garage. He fixed cars and rode a black motorbike. He had strong arms, dark hair, and a crooked smile. All the girls liked him. I did too. When I saw him ride through the street, I felt butterflies in my stomach. One day, he smiled at me as I walked by the post office. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about his smile over and over again. My mother didn't like Mason. She said, "That boy is trouble. Stay away." My older cousin warned me too. "He's not the type who stays," she said. "He only wants attention." But I didn't care. I believed he was different with me. I thought I could be the one to change him. One Saturday evening, there was a small festival in our town. There were lights, food, music, and dancing in the open square. My friends and I planned to go. My mother didn't want me to. "It will get late," she said. "Too many strangers will be there." I begged her, "Please, I'll be with my friends. I won't be alone." After a long pause, she nodded. "Be home by 10, she said. "Not a minute later." At the festival, everything felt magical. The air was cool. The sky was full of stars. The music was loud. People danced and laughed. I wore my favorite dress. Then Mason arrived. He wasn't with anyone. He walked straight toward me. "You look beautiful," he said. My heart jumped. He asked me to dance. I looked around. My friends were nearby. I said yes. We danced to 2 songs, then 3. He held my hand during the slow music. He leaned in and told me a joke during the fast songs. I laughed so hard my cheeks hurt. When the music stopped, Mason said, "Let's go for a ride." "Just the 2 of us." I hesitated. "It's getting late. I promised to be home." "It'll be quick," he said. "Just 5 minutes around the lake. Come on." I looked at his bike. I had never been on one before. I wanted to say no, but I didn't. "Okay," I said quietly. I told my friends I'd be back soon. Mason handed me a helmet. I got on behind him, holding his jacket. The motorbike roared and we sped off. At first it was fun. The wind hit my face. The road was empty. The lake looked silver under the moonlight. But then, Mason didn't turn back toward town. He took a road I didn't know. There were no lights, no houses, only trees and silence. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Just a little further," he said. "I want to show you something." He parked near a clearing. The bike stopped. There was nothing around us, only tall grass and shadows. He got off. I followed. Mason came close and put his hand on my waist. "I really like you," he said. I smiled, but I felt nervous. He leaned in to kiss me. I turned my head. "Wait," I said. "I want to go back now." He laughed softly. "Don't be shy." "I mean it," I said. "Take me home." He didn't listen. He touched my face. He tried again. I stepped back. "Please stop." His face changed. He pulled my arm roughly. "You're no fun," he said. "Let me go," I shouted. I pushed him hard. He let go, angry now. "Fine," he said. "Walk home, princess." He got on the bike, started the engine, and sped off. He left me there, in the dark, alone. I stood frozen for a moment. Then I started walking. The road was cold. My shoes weren't made for walking. It was 5 kilometers to my house. I had no phone. I felt so stupid. so small. The wind blew harder. I could hear animals in the trees. Tears ran down my face as I walked. My legs hurt. My feet were sore. My dress was wet with sweat and fear. When I reached the town lights, it was almost midnight. I saw my house. My mother was outside, waiting. She ran to me and held me tight. I cried in her arms. I told her everything. That night I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, heartbroken. I had loved someone who didn't respect me. He didn't care how I felt. He didn't care at all. The next day, I didn't go out. I didn't eat much. I stayed in bed. My cousin came to visit. I told her what happened. She looked at me sadly and said, "Mason has done this to other girls too. You're not the first." I felt sick. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" I asked. "We thought you already knew," she said. That made me feel worse. I felt stupid. But more than that, I felt angry. With him, with myself, with everyone who stayed silent. That night, I stood in front of the mirror. My eyes were puffy, my hair was messy, but I looked at myself and made a quiet promise. You will never let someone treat you like this again. I started working more. I spent time with my grandmother, who always gave me good advice. I helped my father in the garden. Slowly, I felt stronger. When I turned 21, I packed a bag and left for the city. I had a small savings and a big dream, just to start over, to live a life where I could trust myself again. I found a job at a bookstore. The pay was low, but I liked the quiet. I liked the smell of paper, the way people walked in with curiosity and left with stories. I didn't think about love for a long time, but the memory of that night never fully left me. The fear, the shame, the long walk in the dark. It became a part of me, but not the biggest part. It was just the beginning of a story I hadn't finished yet. City life moved quickly, but I moved slowly. I wasn't in a rush to make friends or meet new people. I just wanted peace. I wanted to forget the feeling of being left behind on a dark road. I focused on my job at the bookstore. Every morning, I unlocked the glass door, turned on the lights, and breathed in the smell of paper and ink. I liked stacking books, writing little notes for the staff pick shelf, and watching customers lose themselves in the stories. I lived in a small room above a cafe. The rent was low, and the walls were thin, but it was mine. I bought myself a plant, a small reading lamp, and a second-hand armchair. Slowly, the space became a home. I cooked simple meals. I took long walks in the park after work. I wrote in a notebook every night before bed. I didn't write about Mason. I wrote about strength, about who I wanted to become. I stayed quiet, but I wasn't sad. I had scars, yes, but I also had freedom. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. I didn't have to pretend anymore. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. One rainy afternoon in early spring, I forgot my umbrella. I was walking home from the bookstore when the rain began, first gentle, then heavy. I stopped under a tree, hugging my bag to my chest, hoping the storm would pass quickly. The streets were nearly empty, except for a few cars and one man across the road. He had a large dark green umbrella. He noticed me, walked over, and stopped just a few steps away. "Need some cover?" he asked, lifting the umbrella a little higher. I nodded and smiled. "Only if you're okay sharing." "Of course," he said. "I'm Daniel." "Nora." We walked side by side toward my street. I learned he worked at a small office 2 blocks from the bookstore. He came into the cafe below my apartment sometimes, but we'd never noticed each other before. We didn't talk much on that first walk, but it was easy. No pressure, no weight. At the corner, I thanked him. "You saved me from getting soaked." Daniel smiled. Guess the umbrella was a good investment. The next day, he came into the bookstore. He didn't say much, just looked around and bought a book on travel. 2 days later, he came again. This time he stayed longer, asking for suggestions, reading the backs of covers, smiling when I joked about how most travel books are more dreams than plans. Over the weeks, it became routine. He'd stop by after work. Sometimes he bought books, sometimes he didn't. Sometimes he asked about my day. Sometimes he just sat in the corner and read. He never asked too many questions. That made me feel safe. He gave me space, but he didn't disappear. I liked that. One Friday, near closing time, he walked in and asked, "Would you like to grab a coffee sometime? Just to talk outside these walls?" I was quiet for a second. I hadn't said yes to anyone in years, but I looked at his eyes, calm, kind, and said, "Okay, just coffee." We went to a quiet cafe a few streets away. We talked about books, about cities we wanted to visit, about how we both liked the smell of bookstores more than the books themselves sometimes. He told me about his sister who lived overseas and how he missed her. He said he liked cooking, but never followed recipes. As weeks passed, we started meeting often. Nothing felt rushed. We walked through the park, went to secondhand shops, visited the local museum. He always listened, always asked before touching my hand. He never made me feel small, never made me feel like I had to be someone else. One evening, as we sat by the window in my apartment, listening to soft music, I told him about the night with Mason. I didn't give every detail, but enough for him to understand the silence I sometimes carried. He didn't interrupt. He didn't ask why I stayed or why I didn't fight harder. He just said, "I'm so sorry that happened to you." Then he held my hand gently and said, "You didn't deserve that. You deserved care and safety and choice." I cried, not because I was sad, but because someone finally saw me without judgment. We took our time. We built something slowly, brick by brick. No fast promises, just quiet trust. 2 years later, we moved in together. Our apartment was small but full of light. There were books on every surface, plants on the windowsill, and always music playing softly in the background. We cooked together, laughed over burnt pancakes, and danced barefoot in the kitchen when it rained. He never made me feel like I was hard to love. On my 29th birthday, he gave me a photo of the two of us under the green umbrella. On the back, he had written, "That was the day everything began." A few months later, I found out I was pregnant. I was scared at first. I stood in the bathroom staring at the test, unsure whether to laugh or cry. When I told Daniel, he held my face in his hands and whispered, "We're ready. I've got you." Now, I sit on the same armchair from my first apartment, watching the rain fall outside. Daniel is in the kitchen, humming while he washes dishes. My belly is round. My heart is full. Sometimes I still think about that girl who walked 5 kilometers alone in the dark, the one who cried in her mother's arms, the one who thought love had to hurt. I want to hold her. I want to tell her, "Keep going. One day, you'll be safe. One day, you'll be loved." Because love is not the sound of a bike engine leaving you behind. It's the sound of soft footsteps beside you on a rainy street. It's not the thrill of danger. It's the comfort of coming home. And sometimes it begins with a stranger offering you an umbrella. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.